Welcome to Not Starving Artists, the podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Benson, money coach and equity actor. I am your financial cheerleader, here to help you build your financial confidence and have power over your money. The best part, no budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks required. I went from being a broke BFA grad having weekly panic attacks about money to a financially confident, wealth-building actor and business owner. Money gets to feel fun, simple, and sexy, and I am going to show you how. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. We are going to take a 1-week breather from my current series on the podcast, Unlock Abundance, the 10 money affirmations that will make you richer in 2025, for a very special workshop replay of my most recent workshop with Novo, my business banking platform that I use, that I promote, that I love. I have been a promoter of theirs before I even became a partner and an affiliate, but I'm currently partnering with them to host monthly workshops, and I want to make sure that you all get access to them, my podcast listeners. You can also sign up for these workshops for free as well. You don't have to be a Novo customer to get access to these workshops. So I'm going to post the links for my next two happening in June and July. This one happened at the end of April, and it's about how to recession-proof your money, which is quite timely. And even if you've heard me talk about how to recession-proof your money before, how to stay financially calm in turbulent times, this is a good refresher. We also had a couple of great questions and thoughts from people who were there live that I think will be super important for you all to listen to as well. We talk about the 3 biggest recession fears and how to solve for those 3 fears so that you can be recession proof. So that way all of our mental energy can go towards keeping ourselves, like our physical well-being, our emotional well-being, our mental well-being, calm and okay and afloat, and that our money doesn't have to feel like a problem during these turbulent, unprecedented times.
Let's go ahead and dive in.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I am so excited to be here with you all today. I am also so grateful to Novo for setting up this infrastructure, right, for me to be able to come and talk to you all specifically about money things, right? Like as business owners, as people who are self-employed, money is different for us. And so even if you're not self-employed, even if you're not a business owner, this is for you as well, because today we are talking about recession-proofing your money. Again, like I said before, this is very timely, right? We are hearing lots of things about a looming recession. We're going to talk about what a recession is, how to navigate your money during these times so that you can be financially calm, so that you can focus your brain space on taking care of yourself, your mental well-being, your community, right? During these crazy times, during these hard times, and that your money stress doesn't have to be a part of what's taking up your mental real estate, right? We can simplify that and we can breathe easy about our money. So we're going to talk about how to recession-proof your money. Like I said, staying financially calm in the face of economic uncertainty. So just to introduce myself, my name is Brooke. I am a money coach and an actor living here in New York City, and my company is called Not Starving Artists. Now, this is a financial wellness company to help creatives, self-employed business owners, artists, and anyone who has like a type B neurodivergent brain, anyone who doesn't resonate with traditional money advice. If you don't like spreadsheets, if you don't want to budget, if that, all of that like restrictive or like type A kind of money management has been really hard for you in the past, or if you're like me, it wasn't hard for me, but it actually became an unhealthy obsession because of how my brain works, right? I ended up white knuckling. It ended up causing panic. If this is you, welcome to Not Starving Artists, right? Even if you're not an artist, this is for you. How we talk about financial wellness over here in my company is we are feelings first money management backed with numerical data. So we are blending both the mental, mindset, emotional, relational side of money with the cold hard facts, with the numbers, with the math, right? With the bank accounts. We need to always be blending the two, the tactical management of your money and how your emotions are playing into it. Because if money management was as easy as here's the perfect budgeting spreadsheet, or like here's the exact math equation or pie chart of how you should spend, and if that was all people needed, nobody would have money problems. Nobody would have financial stress. The reason financial anxiety exists, the reason people do struggle with money is because there's this emotional relational feelings aspect of it that a lot of financial content tends to pass over or not really dive into. So today, as we're talking about recession proofing your money, we're going to talk about the tactical things to do to help proof your money, but then also we're going to make sure like your heart and your feelings are coming along the journey with us. Because alongside of money with recession fears and things coming like economically, tactically, there's also a lot that our heart is going to be going through during these times and has already been going through. I'm sure like you all are aware of what's happening in the world, in this country right now. It's hard for our hearts to manage. So we want to have space for both. Today, we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a little bit of an intro about how I got where I am, starting out as an actor. And now here I am, a money coach running my own business, how that happened. And then we're going to talk about, are we in a recession? Recession do's and don'ts, top 3 recession fears, how to solve for these fears, some final takeaways, and then we'll talk a little bit about Novo and how Novo can help you with what we've talked about today, and then plenty of time for Q&A. My name is Brooke. I am the founder of Not Starving Artists, and I am helping creatives get their money shit together without budgeting or bi-weekly paychecks. Now, I wanted to give you kind of a timeline of who I am, again, how I got to where I am now. So this is me and my partner, my dear, wonderful Brady. We met back in Florida. I lived in Florida before I lived in New York City. And at this time, we were both self-employed freelancers, like minimum wage workers, like very, very minimum wage workers. And this was actually the trailer that we were both living in at the time. So like we came from a trailer to now living in New York City in an apartment we're obsessed with. We live in Manhattan. We are living our dream lives. But what happened during this time in the trailer, I mean, we loved this trailer. We are obviously very in love back in this day too. But what happened during this time is we had to have the thought, what financially do we need in order to create our dream life? And so we started both working on our money mindset, our relationship with money, and our tactical finances together in order to be able to get us to where we are today, where now he is working at a tech startup down in Midtown. I'm here living as an actor and also working as a full-time business owner. I'm getting to speak to thousands of women at engagements and conferences and virtual workshops like this. I work with one-on-one clients. I also recently launched a course this year called Cashed Up Creatives, where I teach all of my frameworks like the money flow method, the cash flow system that helps you manage fluctuating income without budgeting or biweekly paychecks. And again, I'm a working actor. I get to do my creative work and have a full life outside of my business because I have made my money so simple. Okay, so that's a little background. So now let's talk about recession fears. Again, I'm seeing a million things online. I'm sure you all are seeing a million things online. So are we actually in a recession? We've seen the stock market crash now, right? We are seeing infrastructure go crazy. We're seeing the tariffs. We're seeing cost of goods go up. So are we actually in a recession? Technically, no, but it does feel like it. So what a recession is, like the actual definition, is 2 quarters in a row of economic activity doing a downturn, like going into the negative, going like decreasing. Okay. 2 quarters in a row. Now, when I said earlier, like we've in the past, like been close to a recession or we've dipped in and then dipped right back out, it's because of this technical definition. Now, just because we haven't officially been declared as a recession because of those decreasing numbers per quarter, it still feels like we're there because of cost of goods going up and because of the stock market taking a dip and having a crash moment. It feels like we are in a recession. So even though we aren't technically in one, we need to validate the feelings of like, yeah, but it's getting financially hard out here in these streets, okay? So I want to just quickly go through some recessions, do's and don'ts, because this is going to give us the foundation of what we're about to get into, right? Of the 3 fears and how to proof them. So do assess your spending priorities. Maybe hold off on like large purchases that might drain your bank account. Build up your savings and invest consistently. Okay, you've probably heard these pieces of financial advice before because they are the financial advice that you get even outside of a recession time. Now, what you don't want to do is financially panic and sell off your retirement account, sell off all your investments, investing in crypto and gold because you saw someone on TikTok or on Facebook post a thing that like, oh, the stock market's going down, but gold is a much safer investment. So pour all your life savings into gold, right? We don't want to do that. You don't need to buy a depression era cookbook. I'm seeing that pop up on the internet of like, here are recipes where you can eat just rice and beans for, the next 3 months. Now, if that excites you, great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I see a lot of people now veering into, oh no, we are going to be destitute, and that's where we're headed. That's not where we're headed yet, right? So we don't need to go like figuring out how we're going to eat just potatoes, right, for the rest of the year. You also don't need to build a doomsday bunker, okay? Right now, it can feel really scary with what's like, again, with the headlines we're seeing, with what's happening in the news, with what's happening in the world. And it can feel like, oh my God, it's never been this bad before. And in some respects, sure, yeah. But also financially, right? Economically, there have been equal or worse times in history that we have always recovered from, right? You don't need to go like doomsday prepping with your money. So let's talk about the top 3 recession fears, because when we are trying to recession-proof your money, all that means is that we're solving for your 3 biggest recession fears. So the first one is that you wouldn't be able to afford to live your current lifestyle anymore. You're not going to be able to afford your rent, your mortgage, your like property taxes are going to go up, cost of goods is going to push you out, like those sorts of things. The other fear is that your business stops making money or your income goes away. This is a big fear, right, for business owners, for people who are self-employed during a recession. Maybe people get more stingy with their dollars and all of a sudden what your client load used to be has now been cut in half, right? That's a fear. The other fear is that you lose all of your invested money. We saw a lot of people freak out about this when the stock market crashed, right? I think it was a couple weeks ago when that official like start of the crash happened, that you'll lose all of your money. Okay, so these are the 3 fears. In order to solve these 3 fears, right, recession proofing your money, that means we are making you financially unfuckable. So we're going to take these 3 fears and we're going to eliminate them, okay, tactically, and then we're going to work on emotionally eliminating them, right? There's 2 different layers here. When you solve for these, that's what makes you recession proof. So talking about these 3 fears again. When we're talking about how to solve for them, these are the 3 areas we need to solve for. So this, not being able to afford to live your current lifestyle anymore, this is about solving for how you spend your money. Okay, your business stops making money or your income goes away. This is how we solve for making money. We need to solve for how you make money in order to eliminate this fear. And then here, you lose all of your invested money. We need to solve for how you invest your money. So again, we're going to look at all 3 of these areas today in this workshop to eliminate these 3 big fears. So first, how to solve for how you spend money, right? The fear is you'll be pushed out of your current lifestyle. Cost of goods are going up, your rent's going up, and like SOS, now I can't afford my life. And then we go into worst case scenario, right? Like I'm going to be on the street, I'm going to have to move back home, whatever it is. So when the cost of goods go up, your values might change. So when we're talking about inflation or tariffs, these things that are going to increase our money, cost of living crisis, right? Like our rent's going up, especially out here in New York City. If you're a New Yorker, right? Like rent increases are a huge thing out here across the country, but specifically in these high cost of living cities. When it comes to the cost of goods going up, we think like doom and gloom. Oh no, now I'm not going to be able to afford my life. Instead of like zooming out and being like, okay, the things that I used to spend money on that used to feel good in what I was exchanging in value no longer feels as good. But we forget to do that auditing process. So that's the first thing that I want you to do. I want you to do a spending audit. So I've had some clients, specifically like for my women who love to get their nails done. I have had a couple of clients decide that now, even though they still love getting their nails done, now with how expensive it is, right? How much more it's gone up versus what they're currently making in their current financial ecosystem, it actually doesn't feel good to spend money on getting their nails done anymore. So they've moved to getting press-on nails, right? Because they still get to have like the fun nails. They're just not going to a salon to do it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to give up getting your nails done. You can still, by all means, get your nails done. But have you sat with that decision and decided if that still feels good for you to spend money on? Okay, so you're going to do a spending audit over everything that you normally love spending on and see if the value still feels good to you. Now, the second thing is know your baseline numbers. So, do you know to a T what it costs to live as you month to month to month? Are you having monthly money dates to assess what you've spent on? Like seeing how much it cost you to live previously. And I've talked about this in a previous workshop, but your firm and your flex numbers, that means like your non negotiables, your auto pays, your bills. And then also, your flexible money, right? Your groceries, your gas, your entertainment, your online shopping, whatever it is, that's your flex number. So do you know those two numbers? Those two numbers added together is your baseline. Are you fully aware of what it costs to live as you? Because when you know what it costs to live as you can look at your savings account and be like, I know that that amount will get me 5 months from now, like even if I make no dollars for the next 5 months, I am 5 months ahead on bills because I know my numbers and I'm looking at them every single month to make sure I'm still in the range that I expected. Now, this does not mean you have to go into a deprivation mode. What this means is you are aware of your numbers. It doesn't matter what those numbers are, just that you are aware of them. And then this is for the emotional side, right? Like your heart side. Create your contingency plan, okay? Your contingency plan, this is if shit hits the fan, right? And we need to go into X Games mode. And X Games mode, that's just from I think it was a Vine where there was, do you guys remember Vine, right? Like the OG social media, where a guy's like on his skateboard and he's like doing some cool tricks and the guy behind the camera is like, ooh, he on X Games mode, right? X Games mode just means you're in like super aware, intentional decreasing of your dollars in order to get you through a specific season. This is not how you want to live your life, but this is for a season, okay? So your contingency plan is, how much money would I actually need if I put myself on X Games mode? So I'll give you an example. For me, my baseline number for living in New York City, for my rent, for my utilities, for all my non-negotiables, and my discretionary spending, my groceries, my theater tickets, my all of that stuff, that number for me is $2,700. Okay, $2,700, that's my baseline. Now, my contingency plan, if I had to go on X Games mode, if I had to put myself on like the lowest amount that I could fathom spending, that number for me is $2,400. Okay, so I know that like worst case scenario, I could get my money down to $2,400. And all of a sudden now I've stretched my savings an extra couple of months because of how I've lowered my numbers. Okay. So again, this is to tell your heart and your brain, like your anxiety, we are going to be okay. All right. So create that contingency plan. That's the third thing. So now we're going to move on to how to solve for how you make money. Now, don't get mad at me when I say this. The best thing you can do is not blame the recession for your decreased income. I'm going to say that again. The best thing you can do is not blame the recession for your decreased income. Now, this makes our egos so mad. I'm right there with you. As I'm writing this and I'm reading this, my brain is like, yeah, screw that though. Like, of course a recession is going to have an effect on our income, right? As business owners. But why I'm saying this is because having the thought, oh, it's a recession, my income's decreased, that puts you in and I use the word victim very lightly, right? But in the victim seat or in the passenger seat, you're no longer in the driver's seat, okay? You are now at the whim of whatever's happening economically, which is being run by I don't want your life and your business to be run by the people the powers that be right now making some crazy decisions, right? I want you to have the thought, even though there's a recession, I can still make more money. Even though there's a recession, I can increase my income. So whether or not, however true you believe that statement to be, that statement running through your brain is going to make you more money than the thought, it's a recession, so my income's down. Woe is me, SOS, recession has decreased my income. So when you have the thought, I'm still in control of my income, even though there's a recession, even though the stock market crashed, even though there's an economic downturn, even though buyer behavior has changed, whatever the thought is that's going through your head, you're going to start doing these tactical things differently. So first thing, I want you to think about diversifying your streams of income. And then I also want you to assess your lead generators. These are two that go together. So when you're thinking about your one business, like I don't need you to go out and create 8 new streams of income, especially if you already have your own business, right? But when I say diversify your streams of income, what are the different things that you can add into your business that if one stream of income starts to go down, you still have one that's going up? So for example, in my business, even though I have one business that is technically one stream of income, I have multiple streams inside of my one business. I have one-on-one coaching. That stream of income in my business tends to do the best during a recession, I have found, right? Or during, I mean, again, we haven't technically been in a recession, but when things get really scary financially, people tend to want that one-on-one support and help. Now, I also have another stream of income. That's my course, my online course. Now, that's something that people usually buy when things are going good, when like things are moving and grooving, because they don't want to take the time to do one-on-one coaching, right? They just want like the quick and dirty money information. But then I also have school workshops, right? So I'll go into schools and teach. Now, I know that those tend to pop up in the spring semester, specifically for graduating seniors, right? Wanting to understand their money. So do you see how I have multiple streams that, like, if one-on-one coaching starts to go down, I start to pitch myself more for schools, and then that income goes up. So have you assessed and diversified streams of income even inside your business? But then also outside of your business, have you shut off any opportunities to make money that have been handed to you, but you're like, oh, but that's not part of my business, so I'm not going to do that? Or like, oh, like I'm kind of above that or different than that now. Just get curious. Now, the second thing I want you to do is assess your lead generators. What I see a lot of times is that sometimes business owners will have one specific place where leads are coming from. This is something I've actually had to work on this past year, because I've had the thought, right? I'm not going to let a recession or economic downturn affect my income. I'm not going to let the crazy things that are happening on social media affect my income. So most of my clients come from Instagram, but I've had to assess the different areas that clients can find me. So I've actually went out and gone and found more in-person events where I can talk to real people face to face, because that's what I've been noticing people want in the money space. They want to know, like, and trust you in real life, right? Because AI has made social media such a crazy place for financial advice. So I've gone and found other places for potential clients and people to come to me. Now, assessing this, assess where you're bottlenecking yourself. So if there's another business that funnels, we were talking to, someone asked a question about this a few workshops ago, where they had this one organization that they sponsored or were a part of. And that is where most of their business came in. But then there was someone else who started sponsoring this organization that is in the same like industry space as them. So now there was like a little bit of competition and those sales were slowing down. But what we discovered is like, okay, but that's like a bottlenecking of where clients get to come for you. So finding other areas where people can come in, find you, know you, like you, pay you. Right? Assessing, again, diversifying your streams of income and diversifying how people find you. And then the other thing is getting 3 months ahead on bills in your business ecosystem. So we're going to talk about why I love Novo. Novo has a really awesome reserve feature where you can actually allocate, right, a chunk of money as like a savings reserve, and you can call it 3 months ahead on bills, on deck buffer fund. And you can start saving for having 3 months of your business expenses, your owner's pay, your salary, whatever it is, in that business bank account, so that if for whatever reason you have a month where your income can't pay for whatever you need it to pay for in your business, you can pull from this buffer fund. It is for that specifically. It is titled 3 months ahead on bills. Again, now this is that emotional piece where you can look at that reserve and you can say, I'm okay. Even if my sales dipped this month, I'm okay, because I have 3 months to recalibrate and solve and assess and diversify whatever I need to do in order to get 3 months, in order to survive, right? I have 3 months of wiggle room. So now we're going to talk about how to solve for how you invest your money, that third big recession fear. Good investment advice accounts for stock market crashes. So I see a lot of people talking about crypto, talking about gold, talking about bonds, and like none of these are inherently bad. I'd say crypto is still crazy risky, right? But it's not inherently bad. But I see a lot of people talking about different ways to invest now that we're in a recession. But y'all, the best investment advice accounts for crashes. So good investment advice is invest early, invest for the long term, and invest in the entire market. That's when you hear people talk about index funds, target date funds, mutual funds, ETFs. That's the whole market. I mean, you'll have to get specific about which ones you're investing in, but that's what they're talking about. Invest long, invest early, and invest overall in the whole market. When you do that, the point of that is so that you can weather a stock market crash, right? So your portfolio has time to recover so that you haven't just put all of your money into one stock that is now tanked, right? Tesla, right? And also you've got time for it to recover, right? Like you've started early, you've let it roll out, right? And continue on. You're also rebalancing as you get older. Now, this is, if you don't know what these terms are, this is a great time to be like jotting them down. I teach this inside of my online course, Cashed Up Creatives. There's a 20-minute video all about investing, demystifying financial jargon so that you can understand. When you understand how investing works, it actually makes it less scary. So even though you're seeing a huge decrease in your investment accounts right now, you understand how the market works. You understand that your portfolio is balanced in a way that it's actually going to be totally fine 5-10 years from now. Okay. Or if you're right near retirement age now, you've already rebalanced it that it didn't take a huge dip when the stock market dipped. Okay. So again, that is good investment advice accounts for these scary times when it's crashing, when a recession is looming, when economic downturn is happening. So that would be the first thing, is understanding how the stock market works. If you feel confused about investing, if you feel confused about the stock market, now is the time to be like, hey, I'm going to learn about it, right? Because I don't want to be freaked out. And I also don't want to stop myself from investing because I'm freaked out, right? We don't want to let fear stop you from doing things that are really good for your money. Now, the second thing, which I already touched on, make sure your portfolio is balanced correctly for your age. So if you're younger, it's okay that you're more heavily invested in US stocks, because right now, even though they might take a huge dip, you've got plenty of time for the market to recover and you're still going to get more of those gains, right? You're going to be able to earn more because you have time because you're younger. If you're older, you've got a less risky portfolio, making sure that it's not going to dip like crazy when the stock market dips, okay? And then the third thing, you can talk with a financial planner and do not check your accounts every day. So if you're investing and you are prone to financial freakouts, there is a world in which you can set up. I'm gonna promote a company that I'm not sponsored at all for. I just really support them. I've met with the owner. We actually did a podcast episode together about investing and financial freedom. If you go into my podcast, by the way, I'm going to give you a podcast episode. If you're like, question mark about all this investing stuff, this is a great breakdown. It's the Not Starving Artist podcast. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, and it's on Apple. And back in December, I'm going to tell you the exact title of it. Back in December, I did an episode with Jeremy Schneider of Personal Finance Club, which is an investment account on Instagram. The episode is called The Simplest Way to Achieve Financial Freedom and How to Invest Without Paying High Fees, with Jeremy Schneider of Personal Finance Club. He now has a company called Nectarine where you can pay a financial planner for like a one-time session for them to give you unbiased advice about your portfolio and give you specific to-dos, tell you don't sell, tell you do sell, right? You have a professional telling you exactly what to do with your money, but they're not going to sell you into any weird, crazy investments that aren't actually good for you because you are paying them a fee for their unbiased advice. So that company is called Nectarine. So if you are finding yourself freaking out, that might be a really good thing for you to do during this time so you don't financially panic and make a silly money move, okay? And do not check your accounts every single day. We know that the market is going down, right? We know that there is a crash. Do not check it. Do not accidentally put your body into fight or flight. We know that the market is doing what it's going to do. So let it recover, let it do its thing and breathe, okay? Don't put yourself into that panic for no reason. So to sum up, none of this is new advice, okay? A looming recession just highlights the importance of taking action on it. So all of this advice will be the same. I want to give you your big old permission slip to ignore all the crazy stuff that you see on the internet, on TikTok, on Instagram, wherever you live on the internet, you can ignore all of it. Or if like your uncle or a cousin is calling you being like, okay, you got to invest in all this stuff, or you got to do this, get into a credit union, pull all your money out of your FDIC bank. Permission to ignore that friend, that cousin, that uncle. So a few final thoughts. A recession does not automatically mean bad, right? It does not automatically mean your sales are going to go down. It does not automatically mean that you're not going to be able to afford your rent. It does not automatically mean that there's going to be a stock market crash, right? Like none of these things are like inherently correlated. You get to decide what the recession gets to be like for you. All right. So I don't want us to go into it being like bracing ourselves for the worst. We want to prepare for the worst and expect the best. That's a cliche for a reason. Now, number 2, do a vibe check as often as you need to. I actually had to do this morning, y'all, right? Like I am not immune to feeling feelings about a recession and the craziness in this world. A story that I tell a lot when I talk about how I got into this field of work in general is because I have a bent towards anxiety, and my anxiety likes to latch itself onto money, even when it doesn't have anything to do with money. Okay. So what I have found during all the stuff we're seeing, right, in the news in this country, I have a lot of anxiety about that. I have a trans sister. I'm a woman. I live here in the city. I am watching horrors unfold around the world, and that automatically makes me feel more anxious. And so what happens is my anxiety is trying to find a place to latch itself. And so it goes, freak out about your money. Go freak out about your money. So I have to do vibe checks a lot of the time where I have to go look at my bank accounts and I have to talk to myself. You see, I'm like putting my hand on my heart and I'm talking to my money and I'm like, look, we are 6 months ahead on bills, right? Look at the recurring revenue you've got coming in. Look at all of the things you're doing in order to recession-proof your money. Look at the new leads you're bringing in. Look at the new things you're trying in your business. Look at this acting gig you just got that's going to pay you, right? Like there's all these things that I can talk to myself and vibe check myself. And then also in my journal, like where is my anxiety actually coming from? What does my body need? Okay. And it's usually like doing a lot of self-care, right? And then going and taking action in my community. Those are usually the things it comes back to. So you are allowed to vibe check. You won't be able to completely absolve yourself of any kind of anxiety and stress here. Now, the example I want to give is like a G-force monitor when you're on an airplane. I don't know if any of you all experience airplane anxiety. I am hella anxious on airplanes, right? Like horse tranquilizer me up on an airplane. But I figured out how to navigate that anxiety because my lifestyle requires a lot of airplane travel, just like your lifestyle requires a lot of financial management, right? A lot of looking at your money. So in order for me to like vibe check myself on an airplane during turbulence, especially if it's really bad, there was this app that I found that like literally measured the G-force of the plane as it was happening. And it had levels where it was like, here's how much a plane can withstand. And even during the worst turbulence, it wasn't even getting close to those levels. But because I know my anxiety and because I know what my body needed, I have that up for the whole flight. I don't need it as much anymore, right? Because I've worked through a lot of this anxiety. But at the beginning, right, I would have that up and I would just vibe check and I'd be like, Seabrook, even though you're freaked out, you're going to look at the facts. You're going to look at why you don't need to be freaked out. And I'm going to hold space for the anxiety that's coming up, but I'm going to give myself something to anchor into that's going to calm me down. You are allowed to do that as often as you need. Now, the last thing I want to say is that you will never be able to outrun the what if. What if my business completely dries up during a recession? What if I'm not able to afford my rent anymore? What if something crazy happens? Like I have this medical emergency that drains my savings. Like our brains love to go to worst case scenario because it's trying to solve for every possible worst case scenario there is. Okay. but you will never be able to fully, there's always going to be a worse what if. There's always going to be okay, we solved for that, but then what if this happens? Okay. When a recession is looming, when cost of goods go up, and when a stock market crashes, that's never fun to experience. We're not like, woohoo, stock market crash, woohoo, eggs are more expensive. Nobody's excited about it. I'm a money coach and I can coach myself into neutrality about eggs being higher cost, but like, it's still not fun for me to be like, wow, I used to pay half the price of this for these same eggs. Okay. So you'll never be able to outrun like having to navigate not fun feelings about what's happening economically and financially. You'll also never be able to outrun the like, what if kind of worst case scenario thinking. So just know that no matter how much stuff you do to support yourself, there's no amount that like, oh, if I just invest X amount in gold and I move all my money to a credit union and I do this thing and this thing, then like everything will be totally fine and I'll never have to feel what's about to come, right? That doesn't exist. So I want you to let that be a breath of relief that you can do the best you can with current money advice. Assess your spending, assess how you're making money, and make sure that your investments are up and running to weather the storm that could be happening in the future as well. Once you do those, right, then we can breathe of like, and what's going to happen is what's going to happen. Like I want to use, it's hard because like we've seen a lot of these happen, like natural disasters. My parents are down in Florida and my partner's parents as well. And like the hurricane that came through, they were as prepared as possible. They had their insurance, they had their hurricane shutters up, they evacuated, they did all of that. But at the end of the day, if the hurricane's coming, you're not going to be able to like not experience the hurricane. You can be as prepared as possible, but a hurricane might still be coming. Now, that being said, we might not experience a hurricane, right? But you want to be like prepared for that in your body. I want to say that because I think a lot of what the money advice is that's being thrown around on the internet right now, the energy of it is like, and it will allow you to not feel any bad financial things with what's happening in the economic landscape, right? And that's not the case. So that's what I want to say there. Let that be a breath of relief. So I want to talk about Novo now because some of the things that we've talked about in how to recession-proof your money, Novo is going to be able to help you do. So if you want to learn more about Novo and open an account, this is the QR code. I'm an affiliate with Novo, but I also have been using them since I started my business. And I was promoting them even before I had an affiliate link. So I'm just a hard Novo stan. Why I love them is because they have no fees and no minimum balances. So again, to not have to freak out or be like thinking about, oh no, I dipped below my account minimum balance this month and now I've been hit with a fee. You're already having thoughts about your sales dipping. Let's not give you extra thoughts about having to like pay a fee because you dipped below a minimum balance. And also during a recession times, like we don't need money going out the door in monthly fees if there's options out here as a banking platform that don't charge fees at all. They have a free invoicing tool. It's really easy to use. I love using it. Built-in budgeting tool. They've got plenty of integrations. Novo integrates with my like bookkeeping software. I use Wave, but they have a lot of other integrations, and they also have AI-powered bookkeeping. So Novo reserves. This is what you heard me talking about earlier. Getting 3 months ahead on bills in your business. When you know your business's baseline numbers, you're going to be able to set aside 3 months of those baseline numbers into a reserve. So you can see, right? This is also a great place to set aside money for taxes, right? So that tax season is never a stressor for you. Taxes, expenses, right? Owner's comp, profit, whatever it is, however you want to set aside your reserves. I think mine right now, I have a taxes bucket or a tax reserve. I also have 3 months ahead on bills. I call that my on deck buffer reserve. And then I also have my CPA. So I pay my CPA in November. I make sure I have a reserve there for when I pay her fee. And then I also have future investments. So sometimes I'll get a business coach. I'll buy a course. I will bring someone onto my team, right? I have money set aside for that for when I feel ready, or like when an investment comes, when I find a coach or I find a course where I'm like, oh my God, that's in perfect timing for what I need right now. I don't have to stress about like getting the money together or putting something on a credit card, especially when credit card interest rates for like carrying debt on a card are increasing right now. I'm excited that I have money set aside aside in a reserve that I can just use to put towards that. So you can keep all your funds in the same account, which y'all, if you have to do a balance sheet, if you are an S Corp, right, this is such an incredible thing where like you only have to keep track of one account for your balance sheet, but you get to visually see your money all split up, and you can have up to 20 reserves. So you have plenty of room there. And if you want to learn more, here's the QR code. I'm going to leave it up here for one more second if you are interested, and then we'll talk about how you can stay connected with me. Again, my name is Brooke. My company is called Not Starving Artist, and here's where you can connect with me. NotStarvingArtist.com is my website, but I am most active on Instagram at Not Starving Artists. Again, S at the end, Not Starving Artists, plural. And then I also have a podcast, Not Starving Artist Podcast, on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. You can find it all of those places. So on my Instagram, you can also see this section, Work With Me. If you click on this link, you'll find more information about my online course, about one-on-one money mentorship, and then also my website, which has all of these links and contact info as well. So come join me. If you want to DM me and say you were here at this workshop, I'd love to hear your takeaways and your thoughts, all of that good stuff. And I would love to stay connected. Okay, so now I can see the chat again. So I haven't seen any of the chat yet, but we will go ahead and move into Q&A now. Amazing. Okay, bopping in. Yep, move to press-ons. Also cut down some of my business expenses. That's amazing. We love a spending audit. Should we hold off on investing heavily in our business right now, or is this the time to invest further, like training, skills, coaching, etc.? So I know Quinn said she couldn't get on right now. Oh, are you able to get on? Hi, Quinn.
Hi.
Quinn, hi. Okay, let's talk about your questions.
Yes, I'm a stalker of Brooke. So when I saw that you were doing this, I'm like, yes, can't wait to learn more. So you kind of started to answer it with the buckets and the reserves. So in your opinion, I know you have like a 3-month savings account to get ahead, right? And then you have like taxes and your CPA bucket and all of that, and an investing account for like investing in your business. So during this time, there's a lot of things that I see that I'm like, ooh, I probably need that for my business. Do you have a way that you prioritize? Like, do you do the 3 months first? And then like, how do you allocate so that if I see something I do want to purchase, it feels good?
Yes. So prioritization wise, I always say 3 months ahead on bills is top priority. Fill up your 3 months ahead on bills reserve, because when I think about nervous system regulation, being able to always look at that and be like, I am 3 months ahead on bills, no matter what, I'm okay, is going to do worlds for you, rather than like some of the other things that might like help increase it, having that safety net, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say is when it comes to business investments, the goal is always to be able to pay for them in cash with what you have in the bank. Now, sometimes that's not possible, or you're at a point in your business where you want to make an investment to increase your sales, but you don't have the money in the bank. 100% do that, right? Like we've all done that. I did that at the beginning of my business, right? I've also done it 1 or 2 times since. But what I would say is maximum 2 of those at a time, like maximum 2 on a credit card at a time. And then also having that very clear ROI timeline of like, I will have it paid off by this point. This is what I expect to see from these by this point, right? So it doesn't just become nebulous credit card debt. And then using then whatever that investment is to be like, and then I'm going to have a savings goal attached to it as well. So I'm going to make the ROI, and then I'm going to be able to put money into the investment bucket. So the investment bucket amount, I would say you can either have kind of call it like a fun money bucket, right? Where it's like, I just always want $5,000 in that bucket, no matter what, in case there's someone I want to hire, there's someone, of course I want to get, there's a coach I want to hire. Or, right, you have your yearly investments that you know you want. Like, I'm going to invest in this program and I'm going to buy this thing this year. So then you have that actual number benchmark. So 3 months ahead on bills, and then that's the prioritization of the investments. Now, again, if something pops up and you're like, oh, I'm only 2 months ahead on bills, that's okay too, right? Like you're going to be able to gut check yourself. That's the autonomy of, I'm going to go against what I know is the advice, but I have a very distinct reason for it. So that's why I say that that's the order, but also full autonomy if you feel called by your gut in another way.
Beautiful. Thank you. Safety wise, when you see everything in the bucket, I'm like one of those people that's like, hoarder. When I see the money, I'm like, oh, I feel safe. I just want to keep it there. So because you've been talking about like nervous system regulation with money. And so any safety things we can do when we are ready to spend what we have reserved.
Yes. Okay. So I call this you can do the fire drill and then follow the trail of fear. These are two like in my mindset toolkit. First one, let's do the trail of fear. So the first one I would say is when you're wanting to spend from your savings, right? But your brain is like, SOS, no. Follow the trail of fear of like, what am I afraid is going to happen if I spend this? Okay, I don't get an ROI. Okay, I'm not able to then fill back on my savings. Why am I afraid I'm not going to be able to fill back on my savings? Oh, my business is going to go bust. Why am I afraid of my business going bust? Like literally follow it down to the very root fear. So either you're going to find the real thing that you need to do the work on, do the thought work on, or you're going to be like, okay, I see that that's not really a real fear. That's just like residual body stuff, like body keeps the score stuff from a past life. So start there. But then the second thing, the fire drill, this is my favorite thing to do because I am a worst case scenario thinker, right? I'm an anxious girly. So when I do the fire drill, that means I take myself to the worst case scenario and then I figure out how I'm going to get out. So when I'm freaked out about spending my savings or investing in something, I go to that root fear, right? I find that thing. And my root fear is usually I'm not going to be able to pay rent. That's like my starving artist wound. Even though I can always pay my rent now, I'm always so scared of it. So I go to, okay, I'm not going to be able to pay rent. But when I take myself to that fear, I'm like, okay, fire drill. If I can't pay my rent, what would have needed to happen? Okay, my partner would have had to have lost his job, right? Or be not even lost his job. He would need to be now 4 months into losing his job and not have a single dollar coming in. I would need to have had no sales and no new money coming in for over 6 months. So that means that for 6 months, I sat on my laurels and I didn't try and bring in any money. No, that's not the case. So even if my income went to half, now I have a whole year of money to support me. So like if my brain goes to there, I'm like, okay, the actual immediate fear of like, I'm going to lose this money now and it's not going to come back to me now. That fear is actually like a year from now, and it exists in a version of Brooke that does not actually exist in real life, right? Because she's scrappy and she's going to make shit happen. She's going to go get the job at the coffee shop if she needs to, right? She's not going to end up destitute, not able to pay rent. So I would say doing the fire drill to then like tell your brain, right? Like it's okay. Like that version of us doesn't exist. That fear actually doesn't exist in the reality. Did that help?
So much. You are freaking brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Quinn. I'm so excited to see you. I'm glad you were here.
And then I was wondering, as you spoke on like the difference between the G-force monitor, and then earlier you'd said like, don't check the stock market every day. So like, what are some more like things that we can actually look at that are grounding and helpful?
100%. So first thing I would do, like when we're talking about your G-force monitor, like downloading the app is basically your monthly money dates, having a monthly CEO party. So the first thing I would say is make sure that you have that consistent routine during the first week of the month where you're looking at your spending, you're looking at your profit and loss statement, you're looking at your business money, and then you're also checking in with your emotionals, right? Your emotional mindset, relational side of money. So that's like journaling, right? I actually have a podcast series right now called Unlock Abundance, the 10 money affirmations that'll make you richer in 2025. It's like deep mindset work. So if you need help doing mindset work, you can go listen to those podcast episodes, right? To help you start to dive in. So having that routine, that's the first thing. That's just like downloading the app, getting your baseline set to go. But then like throughout the month, if you have anxiety pop up, I want you to look at your bank account. So that would be the second thing is one, making sure your spending is in alignment with the choices that you made during your CEO party, right? So if your brain's like, oh no, we're spending too much, just like go check. Or if it's like, oh no, I need to stop spending because what if this happens? It's like, no, like the numbers we looked at and the numbers we decided, we are in alignment, or it gives you the time to recalibrate. The other thing you can look at is your reserves, or in your like personal banking ecosystem, right? Your savings accounts, if you have buckets at another bank account that has those kinds of reserve bucket features, going and looking at those and telling yourself, I'm 3 months ahead on bills. Or even if you're not 3 months ahead on bills, you can do that fire drill thing where it's like, hey, but look, we're going to be able to pay our rent next month. Or, hey, remember, we've got that paycheck coming in. We've got our salary coming in a week, and we're going to be okay. Like whatever you need to do to tell yourself you're going to be okay, looking at the accounts. So don't look at the overall investment accounts. You know what actually you can do though? If you want to pull up your investment accounts, but then zoom it out to the longest span of time you can look at. So if you look at a 3-year time span, you'll see that like if you started investing 5 years ago, you'll see your money down here. And even with the crash, it's still up here. I did that today when I was doing my gut check, my G-force monitor. I looked and I was like, I'm so proud of you for investing back there when it was really scary. I actually invested. It was right before the crash in 2020. I did a lump sum investing amount. I invested $5,000 and literally 2 days later, the stock market crashed, right? And I was like, fuck, oh, right? So it was hard for me to like see that. But I was like, Brooke, remember, I have that financial education. I was like 3 years from now, 5 years from now, you're going to be so proud of yourself for investing because it's going to be way more. Like it's not this dire thing that it feels like right now. So now I can look at that crash and it feels like small potatoes. So now I have that learning and I look at what's happening now and I'm like, right, Brooke, remember 5 years from now, small potatoes. So if you zoom out, that's when it can be helpful to look at your investments.
Brilliant. That makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. Samantha said she loves the monthly CEO party.
It's a game changer, right, Samantha? It is one of my favorite money routines because it only has to happen once a month. I'm not like a morning routine girly. Like if I have to do something every day, it is not happening, right? I'm more like when I feel it throughout the month, when I feel it throughout the week. So being able to give myself 1 week of time where when I feel excited about it, I can do it. And it only has to happen that one time. Game changer.
But then, like you said, you make the decisions and you lock into those decisions.
Exactly.
From there.
So you can still hit your goals. So you can still be aware of your dollars, right? You got to have both.
Love it. That mindset piece. I definitely also shared your upcoming events. Let me go ahead and pin those to the top. But if you could just talk a little bit about your upcoming events, how to bust your biggest money issue, and then how to manage your money as an artist.
Yeah.
I'll them again.
Yeah. So my next workshop will be in June. I'm actually out of town for a rehearsal process for a play in May, which I'm so excited about. So I'll be on Instagram during that time, but my next workshop won't be until June. So I'm going to talk about how to bust your biggest mindset block, like how to figure out like kind of like mindset work. How do we do it? Like thought work. Oh, like I have to go find my anxiety and then work on it. We're actually going to find what is the mindset block that's keeping you from the kinds of financial realities you want to see, so that we're actually channeling your mindset energy into the thing that's actually going to move the needle. So that's about busting your biggest mindset block. And then also how to manage your money as an artist and a creative. We're going to talk tactically how to manage fluctuating income, emotionally, how to navigate fluctuating income so that it doesn't freak you out. And then also just how in your brain to start relating to money differently as an artist, as a creative, because that's different for us, right? If we're not 9-to-5 finance bros, we're going to relate to money differently, and that's okay and just as effective. So that's what that workshop will be.
Absolutely love it.
Thank you, everyone. Bye, Stephanie.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in. Come join me on Instagram for more on how to build a simple, sexy relationship with your money. My Instagram handle is @NotStarvingArtists. And if you want to dive deeper with me, head to the show notes to learn more about one-on-one coaching. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend that you want to get rich with.